Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Comic Book Nostalgia. I'm CB Nostalgia, and I thought we could talk a little bit about Superman. Well, if you're a fan of Superman, you know he is one of DC's mightiest heroes. Literally the guy who at times has become the literal embodiment of heroism. And typically, Superman readers expect him to be capable of righting any wrong, facing any foe, and staying loyal to the classic truth, justice, and American way, all while he takes down the baddies. But let's be clear, he's not magic. He's an alien who's beefed up by the yellow sun, and that means he has physical limits. So that begs a question, does Superman need to sleep? Let's take a couple minutes to dive into the possibilities of whether Superman needs to sleep at all, and talk about why he does or does not need that extra time off. Now, quite honestly, sleep is vital for humans, but for Kal-El, he naturally stores energy taken from our yellow sun. If you trap him in darkness and he begins to weaken, you bathe him in sunlight and he gets stronger and stronger and fully rejuvenated. But if Superman is living off of solar energy, does he ever need to sleep? I mean, is there a requirement for him to have some shut-eye? Kryptonians themselves didn't evolve with a yellow sun, so it's pretty reasonable to assume that they need sleep just like humans do. Now, some of these questions are pretty easy to answer. Obviously, Superman can sleep. In JLA 22 by Grant Morris, Superman is actually affected by a sleeping plague, demonstrating he really does have the physical capability to fall asleep even when he's fully charged. Now, obviously in the story it was directed by an outside force, so it might require a little more evidence for fans. Now, in Sandman 71, we actually get this evidence, when Superman, Batman, and the Martian Manhunter are pictured as guests at the Wake for Dream of the Endless, an event attended by everyone capable of dreaming. In this comic, Superman actually discusses dreams he's had in the past with Batman. And what's pretty cool about this is he references a lot of out-of-canon stories and various television shows, which I found pretty interesting. Now, what's really interesting about this whole scene is that Superman, when he dreams, he sees himself as Clark Kent, in contrast to Batman, who remains in his costume, his face hidden by the shadows, which really does suggest this is their subconscious identity and their true self. Now, if Superman's self-reported dreams are indeed accurate, he has them frequently enough to consider some of them reoccurring. And this causes us to assume that Superman must sleep pretty frequently. Now, Kryptonians may have evolved to need sleep, but the real question becomes then, with Superman being recharged by the yellow sun, does he actually need it? And believe it or not, there is an answer to this. Back in 2020, in Superman number 9, Clark Kent zones out during a family discussion, and then, by the way of an apology, shares a theory on the matter. This is what he says: "I forgot to sleep. If I lived on Krypton, I would sleep whenever a normal Kryptonian cycle was. But the yellow sun gives us our powers here, makes it so I don't have to sleep, even though clearly I do. Batman said it was my subconscious screaming for stage time." And this is the big deal with his sleep. It means Superman doesn't actually have to sleep for physical sustenance. But, rather, he needs to sleep for clearing his mind and allowing him to focus. This actually calls to a passage back in 1981's Superman 365, and that actually says, "Phew, the past 5 years were supposed to be a vacation for Clark Kent, and even though I took off my glasses, I've been confronted by a never-ending stream of crises and catastrophes. It's been one monumental job for Superman after another. There is nothing I'd like better than to be sacked out in my apartment or the Arctic forces of solitude right now, but I promised Kara I'd stop by New York for our regular weekly rendezvous. True, she and I don't need anywhere near as much sleep as Earth people do, but after 5 sleepless days and nights, even a Kryptonian can start to go a little bonkers." Now, this issue continues with Superman actually coming into conflict with Supergirl because he's experiencing symptoms which basically were sleep deprivation. And that gives us our answer. Yes, Superman is kept physically rejuvenated all the time by the yellow sun, but he indeed needs sleep, at least a very small amount every 5 days, to organize his thoughts and stay mentally healthy. While this might sound rather minor, Supergirl was actually once driven to dangerous mania by sleep deprivation, attempting to kill Superman himself despite their close relationship. So Superman is indeed able to survive physically by replacing sleep with sunlight, but unless he gets a little sleep every week, he's in danger of sending himself into insanity. So that answers the question. Does Superman need to sleep? Yes, he does, but for purely mental reasons. We'll try to do some more of these dives into comic book characters and how they live their lives moving forward, but I am curious on what you guys think about Superman and his requirement to sleep. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of the DC updates. But until we know more, what do you guys think? Were you surprised the Man of Steel does indeed need to sleep like humans? And what's the most number of days you've ever gone without any sleep? Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.